we're back on streaming. So, Miss Luan, I'm again really sorry about this, but you can
That's okay.
You may continue. I'm really sorry about this.
No worries. All good. It was exciting. All right. Am I still there?
Yes.
Yes.
It's good.
Okay, so I'm going to
Thank you.
share my screen again.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
And we can see it. We're good.
Yay, awesome. That was a quick little break. Gave me a chance to get a drink of water. So thank you for that. All right, so I was talking about Rito and robots in the Outback and what we've done. And Robots in the Outback is a program that we started a number of years ago because we really wanted to reach those people who maybe wouldn't have the opportunity to do something like FIRST, whether it was because they didn't have the financial resources or the mentor resources or whatever might have been stopping them. We really wanted to get to some underserved communities. And so we had a sponsor come on to help us with that. They gave us a little bit of money to go do that. And one of our goals was to set the bar pretty high. We wanted to fail fast if we were going to fail. We wanted to learn and persevere. So I told you the story about the Bachelor Institute already. Our next try at this was in a little town called Ivanhoe. Ivanhoe is about a 12-hour bus ride from Sydney. I know that because I drove the bus. And they have about 150 people in the entire town. It's this tiny little place in the middle of nowhere. Turns out our vice chancellor in Macquarie was born there. And so he was the one who really wanted to see FIRST happen there. That it's the perfect way to not only get people high up in Macquarie involved, but also give this whole Robots in the Outback another go. So off we went to Ivanhoe. We took about 7 or 8 people with us. There were 28 students in the entire school district at that point. And we gave every single one of those kids an experience with FIRST, all the way from the kids in kindergarten up through year 12. Turns out there were only 5 kids in the high school. And our vice chancellor came out and actually spent 2 days with us, and we helped them and mentored them build their very first robot, which was great. They came to the regional for 2 years in a row. They were pretty successful. And then a family moved out of Ivanhoe and they only had, hello?
You can go on. There's no issue. It's just some, please go on. Please go on.
Okay. So, yeah, so it turns out a family left Ivanhoe, and so there were only 2 kids left in the high school, and it just wasn't enough people to actually have a drive team. And so we decided to take a couple of years off from Ivanhoe. But we learned some really important lessons along the way. What do you do in a town where there really aren't mentors? How are we going to facilitate this? What are we going to do if there's only one teacher who's willing to mentor these kids? So I can't say that it was a failure because they did come along for a couple of years, and we did see kids. Turns out not a single kid in the last 20 years from Ivanhoe has gone on to university. And now we had about 15 of them that were interested in it. So there was success there, but again, not great success. It wasn't sustainable. So that all led us to creating something called Mentors Without Borders. And with Mentors Without Borders, what we decided to do was during build season, send out some mentors. And we brought in some mentors from around the world to do this and send them out into the Outback to spend 3 or 4 or 5 days with each of our rookie teams that were part of the program, so that by the end of those 3 or 4 or 5 days, they would have a driving base. So when they came to the regional, they would absolutely be able to, play the game. We thought that was the way to go. Well, it was an okay idea. It worked okay. It wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't great. What we learned in doing that is that while we were going out and we thought we were providing them with amazing support, we really weren't creating a sense of community for them. They still felt like they were on their own. When we got on the bus and we left, they felt like they had no one to talk to but us. So we decided to change that up. And now we run a Mentors Without Borders conference where we bring all of our rookie coaches together in December in Sydney, from wherever they are from around the country. And we actually do a drive-based build then. And they still get the same sort of technical skills that they would have gotten when we went out to their schools. But now they've got 3 or 5 or 6 or 10 other people who are in the same boat as them. They have meals together. We put them up in the same hotel. They really have a chance to network and become friends with these other mentors. And now in build season, when things get tough, of course, they can always get in touch with us. We're happy to help. But more importantly, they can get in touch with each other And I've never walked in the shoes of someone from the Outback, from a teacher out there, even though I've been out a number of times. It's really important that they're able to connect with other people who are experiencing the same thing that they are. And that seems to be working out a whole lot better. Our initial goal with our Robots in the Outback grant was 19 FRC teams, 35 FTC teams, and 210 FLL teams. We've been doing this now since 2015. The grant was only supposed to last for 3 years. We still have about 20% of the money left. We found ways to be creative and innovative and fund teams in other ways. So we've just been able to extend that grant, which has been great from our sponsors' point of view. And at the moment, we've created 30 FRC teams, 52 FTC teams, and 327 FLL teams with our Robots in the Outback money. So this program has been incredibly successful. And even though only a little bit of money is left, we're looking at applying for some more grants so that we can continue in the years to come, because it's been hugely impactful. All right, so is it working? I just had a couple of quotes I wanted to share with you. AI Metal Pies is a Robots in the Outback team. It's an inner city school from the western part of Sydney. And, you know, the coach there, the part of this quote I like is that it's more than changed their lives, it's saved their lives. So these are kids who are in pretty bad shape. And some of them are now looking at university. They feel like they have a mission in life. So it's really nice to see that, again, impact. The next one was from an FLL team called Create the Future. And, you know, this coach said that she just wanted to share the magic of what we've done and how it's changed the lives of her students. You've changed the course of their future. I mean, you get little goosebumps when you hear that. You're actually changing lives for the better. The last one is probably my favorite story. We decided that we wanted to be a little bit crazy. How could we supersize it? How could we make it better? How could we reach more people? And so the first two quotes here are from Australian teams. But Australia, we decided to reach out to the US. And the Navajo Mountain team was a team in Utah in the United States. And we sent a couple of mentors over there because they had never done this before. And this team has just blown us away. They come from a very poor area. It's from the Native American people. Some of them don't have running water in their homes. And there's a lot of substance abuse and that sort of thing. Anyway, we started a team at this high school in the Navajo Mountains, and these kids, they competed and they did okay. I want to say they went to the, I don't know, I think they went to the Utah Regional, but I'm not positive. But somehow they managed to scrape enough money together to go to, I think it was the Ida, I don't know, it was another regional, I can't remember, this was a few years ago. But anyway, they managed to win Rookie All-Star somehow, which was awesome. And they had this robot, it couldn't do anything. I think it was made out of steel. It was heavier than sin itself, but nobody could push them around. And so they managed to get to championship, and we were at championship that year as well. And we ended up meeting them at a Panera Bread. And we had dinner with them, which was pretty amazing. And when we first started watching the kids from these two teams, from this place in Sydney and this place in the middle of Utah, United States, these kids had very, very little in common other than robots. At first, they just looked at each other like, who are you? They were both a little leery of the other team. But before you knew it, they became best buddies, and they were exchanging emails, they were exchanging Facebook addresses. And I believe some of them still keep in touch. The thing that's really cool about Navajo Mountain is the University of Utah heard about their story and offered every single one of those kids a full 4-year scholarship. Last I heard, they were all still at college. Most of them are getting close to graduating. I think 1 or 2 of them have gone on to pursue medical degrees because they really want to go back and influence and inspire their community again. And the thing that the coach said to us that just struck my heart in a really nice way is that it was a miracle greater than the Olympic Jamaican bobsled team. If none of you have seen that movie, I suggest you go watch it. It's called Cool Runnings. And that quote will mean a lot to you then. So what happens after kids get out of the first program, right? And I just want to show you a few of the things that our alumni have had opportunities to do. A lot of our alumni have had internships around the world. We've had some of our students interning at NASA, and Google, Dolby, Siemens, ResMed, all over the place. I think just about every one of our alumni have gone on to have amazing internships. At this point, a number of them have gone on to careers. We have people working at Waymo, which is Google's version of the self-driving car, at Google, at HubSpot, at Aris, which is a surgical robotics company in California, Boeing, and that list goes on as well. We've had a couple of students get scholarships that are pretty cool. One of our ladies won the Google Anita Borg Scholarship, which is a huge honor. And we also had a student who was a Rhodes Scholar finalist. We've had a number of our students go on and enter into the Global Leadership Entry Program at Macquarie Uni. That gets them a number of benefits, as well as a great opportunities for research and the like, even as an undergrad. One of our students was a finalist in the Mission to Mars. He was one of, I think, the top 50 people when they were looking for the first person who was going to actually walk on Mars. I think he got eliminated at that point, but he really wanted to have impact. He really wanted to inspire more people. And, we're really proud of that. University honors and success, the really interesting bit here, and if there are any parents listening, listen close to this one. We've done some research, and it turns out that on average, a student who's done the first program ends up at least one letter grade better than the average student at university. And it might be because they have some technical skills. I personally think it's because of all of the other skills, especially the time management and learning how to work in a team. Those skills are useful regardless of the career that you're going to enter. And our kids get that in spades. I'm almost near the end, but there's a quote that we talk about a lot at First Australia and on Team 3132. It's from a lady named Margaret Mead, and it says that, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." And when you really think about that, and you think about how do you want to live your life? What do you want to do? What do you want your legacy to be? What sort of path do you want to walk? If you think about this, it might make you choose a different path. It might make you choose a path that you really can change the world. And hopefully that's what we're trying to do. That's pretty much everything I had to say. That's sort of a really quick bird's eye, really quick view through what we've done here in Australia. I am certain that things are going to go well in India. And if you have any questions, I would love to answer them.
Well, that was absolutely brilliant. I'm really sorry for the, the minute delay.
Okay.
We just faced some technical difficulties from all our ends. So we actually do have some questions from the people on the live stream. And although we switched, live streams in the middle, we're happy to see many people, coming back. So I think we can just get into the questions now.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see you better. Okay.
All right. So, So there are some questions that have come. And all right. So do you have a message for those who misunderstood FIRST as only being a robotics competition?
Absolutely. So FIRST is great. But it actually stands for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. You notice the word robotics is not in there. We call it the FIRST robotics competition, but robotics isn't actually in FIRST. And of course, it revolves around robots. Robots are a great hook to get kids excited and interested. But it's really not about robots. It's really about teaching kids to be passionate about changing their world, having the confidence to do that. And they learn all those things in addition to some robotic skills. So they learn how to be a part of a team. They learn huge leadership skills. A lot of our teams are operating as small companies. So they're writing business plans, they're doing marketing, they're creating videos, they're doing websites, they're doing strategic analysis. They're doing all the kinds of things that entrepreneurs do around the world. And quite frankly, some of them are doing it better than a lot of entrepreneurs do. So it is about robots, but it's really not about robots.
That's couldn't have been well put. All right. So how do you think we can level the ratio of boys to girls in FIRST programs and STEM fields? Because that's an issue that Elevate has taken up.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. As I mentioned, we have to reach the girls sooner. But the other thing we have learned is that girls really like to do something when it matters in a way that isn't just purely technical. So we call it sort of CS, or computer science plus X, right? CS, or you could put any sort of words in for computer science. And for boys, a lot of times they'll do computer science or they'll do technical things just for the fun of doing technical things, right? Girls really want to use those technical things in order to facilitate some other goal. So it might be that they're interested in music, okay? And so they want to use their technical skills to explore something in music. Or they might be interested in language development. They want to use those technical skills to further their interest in something else. So I think it's really important that as a society, we understand that we have to give girls and boys, I mean, some boys, I mean, these are generalizations, right? But in general, we have to give girls the ability to use that technology rather than just have the technology for technology's sake. The other thing that I think is just critically important is for girls to have the opportunity to network with one another. I'm an engineer. I have a degree in electrical engineering. There were about 300 students in my class when I was at university. I was one of 3 girls, okay, 1%, not very many. And I think the thing that made it even harder was when I was having issues, because I was one of 3 girls, there really wasn't anybody else for me to talk to that had walked in my shoes. So I think that we need our girls to be connected with other girls who are interested in similar things. I think that's why the Anita Borg stuff is so important. It's a way for girls to connect and help one another and inspire one another.
Exactly, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. As a teacher and STEM enthusiast, do you have any advice for those who want to pursue a career in STEM?
Wow, that's a really interesting question. It's a great question. Yeah, I think my advice is learn everything that you can, right? Learn, when you're in high school, take as many math classes as you can, take as many science classes as you can, go as broad as you can, right? Learn about biology and chemistry and computer science and physics and anything that's science related. Learn about it so that you can really hone in on where your passion lies. For some of you, it will be robotics, and that's awesome. For some of you, it won't be, but it might be, you want to go and learn about the science behind archaeology. That's awesome, right? So try a bunch of different things until you find something that is just something you can't stop thinking about. And you're so excited that that's what you want to do. And you know what? You might not know it when you're in high school. You might not even figure it out when you're at college or university, right? You might be my age and just figuring out what you're really passionate about. But that's okay. If you're lifelong learners, which is something that FIRST really encourages, then I think that really helps you across the board.
That's absolutely great. So another question that actually just came in was, throughout your journey as a teacher and mentor, what is the biggest impact you've seen on students after they finished the first program?
Oh, another really good question. You guys are coming up with great ones. I think the biggest impact I've seen is in the confidence of the students. So a lot of times when kids come into the program, they're very, very shy. Usually, especially with FRC, they're in about year 9. They feel very not confident in their skills because all of a sudden they're coming into maybe a workshop that they've never seen before. But you give them 3 or 4 years of doing this, and all of a sudden they're confident, they're leading. Their public speaking is amazing. And there's one young girl in Australia that I'm thinking of in particular who was selectively mute. And she came in and she did the first program, and it turns out she was a Dean's List winner. So it's just the amazing change in confidence, I think, is probably the biggest thing that I've seen.
So this is coming from a mentor from another FRC team. How do we promote and encourage schools to take up FRC and FTC in a big way? Most of the time, schools are reluctant to take up competitions and look at these programs as extracurricular.
Yeah, that's a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I will say that we spent a lot of time in the early days making calls to schools and just saying, this is amazing, this is great, look at the benefits. And we had some success, not great success. I think that a lot of our success has come from parents who look at the program, parents who look at the benefits and the things that the opportunities that FIRST students have, And I think that when a parent goes into a school and says, I really want this for my kid, and I'm willing to help you make it happen, I think that's where you really have a lot more impact, and you have a lot better chance of getting schools on board. Teachers are amazing. They are my superheroes. Okay. I look at them and I am in awe at everything that they do. They're incredibly busy. They're incredibly stressed. They have way too much on their plates, and asking them to take this on without giving them support as well is really, really hard. And so I think that the best thing that you can do is figure out a way to support those teachers so that this adds value rather than becomes a strain and a burden on them.
So, as more teams are being created as part of FIRST and STEM programs, there is always an issue about having more mentors for these teams. So how do we get more mentors, technical, non-technical? How do we get these mentors?
Yeah, another really good question. That's probably one of the biggest things across FIRST that I've seen is the biggest problem is how do we get more mentors? We've tried a number of things here. Most of our mentors are teachers, but I will say that we are finding that universities are a really good place to get some mentors. So if you can find some university students who are maybe in their 3rd or 4th year, who have some pretty good technical skills at that point, they can come along and they can really relate to the high school students in a different way than someone my age can. I think that, believe it or not, parents are another really good source of mentors. Some of the best mentors that we have, turns out, are parents of kids who are on the team. And even after the kids leave the team, the parents are still so enthused they stick around as mentors. Yeah. Also networking, talk to the mentors you have now. If we had every mentor just bring in one other person from a company that they work at, this probably wouldn't be an issue, right? So, use that network that you have in order to try to find some more people to get excited about this program.
So you spoke about sticking after the program is over. So how do we keep more alumni engaged?
Yeah, I think you have to make it fun, right? What are you going to do when you graduate? You're going to do things that are fun. You're going to do things that make you feel really good, okay? We've tried to create a culture of giving back, of serving others here, and serving others is really fun, right? It's great if you can impact yourself and your own team, but if you can make it so that you're changing the life of somebody else who really didn't have an opportunity, that's fun, okay? And if you can generate that culture throughout FIRST India, then I think your alumni will stick around. The other thing I think you need to realize is that once you start doing FIRST, it is a little bit addictive. It's kind of hard to get rid of them sometimes, which is a really good thing.
Yeah. So we have actually a lot more questions. If you don't mind answering some more,
Sure,
that are
fine.
coming from the YouTube chat. So according to you, what is the best way to market FIRST on a national scale?
Again, a really good question. We probably didn't do it that way. We probably started viewing our community more as Sydney to start with, and trying to make it have a really strong base in Sydney. And then we expanded out to the rest of New South Wales. And then we expanded out further into all of Australia. So, right, our theory was before we started taking the next step out, if you almost view it like a target, right, and your home is the center, get that first area really strong and secure, have that ecosystem be incredibly healthy, and then go out to the next band, however you define that to be. Because once you have that real core in a good place, then they can help you get to the next band and the next band and the next band on a target. So my advice would be, don't think of starting all of India. Think about how you can make it really strong where you are, get an event where you are, make it so that sponsors where you are see the impact, and then they will help you expand out as the time goes by.
That's actually, something that we can all put to use for sure. So another question that's come in, and it's a small actually one. It's in the lockdown, how do we, keep going on with our technical skills, and how do we keep building our skills?
It's really difficult. Like there are some things that we can do that are pretty easy, right? If you look at the skills that you're going to learn in FRC, it's pretty easy to keep doing CAD, right? You can do computer aided design at home. You can do virtual classes on CAD. That's not that hard. Software is probably another area that's really easy to gain technical skills in. You can be writing software. There's some amazing virtual programs out there that you can run virtual robots. There's a really good one called Coders, C-O-D-E-R-Z, that was actually started by a company in Israel, that you can write code and then you can see how a robot actually reacts to that code all online in a virtual environment. When it comes to learning things like tool usage or how to use the CNC router or a drill press or all of those things, that's pretty hard unless you can actually be there in person. So I don't know that you can do those sorts of things, but you can absolutely gain skills in other things. If you're interested in marketing, or if you're interested in making videos, you can do all of those things at home, super easy, right? So I think you need to look and figure out what can you do at home and what's gonna have to wait until the world becomes normal again.
So I think we're going to take maybe one or two more because we have crossed 5:30, but let's go on. So there's another one that's just coming hot of YouTube. Can you give a few tips regarding how to reach out and gather different schools in different cities and ultimately start a regional?
So I think starting a regional is a really good goal to have. I think that having an off-season event where you don't have to have 24 or 30 or 36 teams to start with is really important. If our first event would have been a regional, I think we probably would have failed. I think it's big, and I think there's a lot of things that go on at a regional that are hard. I think that if you can run an off-season event or two on a smaller scale with 10 teams or 15 teams or 20 teams, like I said, our first one only had 7 teams. You learn so much. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And I can't tell you because I don't know what you don't know. And some of the things you just learn by doing. So my advice would be reach out to enough schools that you can run an off-season event and do that a couple of times, whether that's once a year or twice a year. You guys will figure that out, right? Yeah. But do that a few times because it gives not only you the experience, but you've got all kinds of people you're going to need as volunteers. You're going to need key volunteers. And if all of your key volunteers are coming in and their first event is this official regional, I think that's going to be really, really hard. So you need them to get some experience and for them to start understanding and learning and training other people. And that happens easier at an off-season event. So that would be, I guess, my only real piece of advice is maybe I'll even call it baby steps to get to the official regional. I know you guys want a regional in the worst way, and I understand that. We wanted one as well, right? But you don't want to have a regional if it's going to fail, right? So start now working on those baby steps. So in a couple of years, you will be there and it'll be amazing.
So that's actually right. So just the last question, I know we've gone overboard, but this is more of a personal question that's come. What are some of the best moments you've seen with your mentees and students during first programs?
So the best moment for me was probably, so when you're doing the Chairman's Award, one of the things that you have to do is you have to create a video as part of your Chairman's Award submission. And we had been competing for chairmans for a number of years, and we had decided that we didn't really like any of our previous submissions. And so we were going to go out on a limb, take a risk, and do a chairman's video that was really different from anything we had ever seen. And as we were creating it, we would joke around. We're like, we want to see that up on the big screen in Houston this year. In other words, we wanted to see it played a championship, meaning that we had won. Well, you know, none of us really thought that was going to happen. I mean, we were hopeful, but in reality, you know, we were pretty real about stuff like that. But we joked about it the entire time. And I will never forget the feeling of standing on the stage. They were taking the picture after we had won the award. And all of a sudden, the music from the video came on and it was up on the big screen in Houston. And I think every one of us just stood there and cried because it was this thing that we had talked about joking. And it was just one of those moments that you'll never forget. So probably one of my favorite memories in first is standing there with the fireworks going off and the video playing. It was awesome.
That's so heartwarming. Well, I think we are done for this session. I really just want to thank you, Ms. Luan, so much, because as you all know, it may be 10:05 already, 10:05 p.m. in Sydney, where you are right now. So I really want to thank you for spending an hour with us. Sorry again for the technical glitch. there are lots more speakers coming in over the next week. And so please be sure to check that out. Again, Ms. Luan, thank you so much for your insight today. Your entire presentation was just, it's going to help us a lot in building First India, which is our mission. So thank you for everyone who's tuned in. Please look at our channel for, all further streams. We have a lot of exciting speakers coming up over the next, over the next week. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you so much, Luan. You were a delight to hear. This has been so inspirational, and to hear the entire journey has been amazing. I mean, and I've always wanted to hear this story, and coming from you straight, it just made our day. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Good luck. I know you guys are going to be awesome. And please don't ever hesitate to reach out. Whatever we can do to help, we'd be honored.
Of course. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Good night.
Thank you. Yes. Good night.